Well, hey guys, Jonah Wright here, host of the Blue Collar Blueprint podcast. And on today's show, we're going to be sitting down for a great conversation with Corey Reagan. Now, Corey is a 34-year-old air conditioning man. He's a real estate investor, a family man, just an all-around motivator and great dude. Now, he's got a wealth of experience in his trade, and he's really run the gamut through the thick and the thin of the AC business. So he has a ton of insight for us in terms of what to do in order to become successful as an HVAC guy. And this is the case from all levels, right? Whether you're talking about someone who's brand new in the trade, just getting started, or if we're talking about someone who's in the process of working their way up the ladder, whether it's starting a business or entering into management at a big company, whatever it is, he's got a little bit of information that you can take and roll with. Now, he also tells us about a few of the pitfalls and some of the hardships that he has encountered along his path, which can ultimately serve as an incredible warning beacon to you guys out there as you're listening to this and as you're going about your blue-collar journey. Now, I really enjoyed this conversation. It's rather wide-ranging, and I'll tell you, I learned a lot about the HVAC world and the AC business generally, right? There's plenty of good tips and tricks about how to excel in work, how to maximize your ability to learn quickly, how to deal with cranky old guys who are showing you the ropes, and how to make great money in the AC trade, plus plenty more. So again, this was a great conversation. I know you're going to get a lot out of it too. So without further ado, let's dive right in and talk to Mr. Corey Reagan. My name is Jonah Wright, and it's my job to give you the tools that you need in order to build a full and successful life from the ground up and with your own two hands. This is the Blue Collar Blueprint podcast. So yeah, man, I guess we'll just dive right in there.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it.
Welcome to the show, man. I appreciate you coming out and doing this recording. We've been talking about it for a few weeks now, so
yeah, man.
Hopefully you got to feel like you got a couple things that we can add. I know you've got just loads of value to offer to the guys out here, so I'm excited to get this conversation moving.
I sure hope, man. I sure hope I do.
Yeah, no doubt. So real quick, I just wanted to tell the audience a little bit about how we met. Because so right now we're actually recording in my most recent remodel project. Had it stripped down to the bones, down to the studs, ripped everything out, did a little bit of movement around. Corey's had the pleasure of watching that whole that whole process go together. But weirdly enough, this project is literally one block away from my last project that I just wrapped up, as you know. And we just got that Airbnb started and finally getting to the point where we're going to start bringing money in instead of pushing it out all the time, which is a nice place to be.
Good feeling.
But yeah, it was just like serendipity, I was working at the other house. This one came on the market. My wife called me and said, hey, you got to go check this place out. So I ran over here, negotiated the deal on the spot with the seller's agent, with the seller themselves. And now we're here, and we're obviously in process of getting it put together. So I've been around here a lot.
Yeah, man.
And so I'm driving home one day, swinging around, and I see this other house that I had my kind of eye out on. It was a freaking dump, pretty garbage little house, big house actually, but like a real literal rat's nest,
But
and,
treasure, dump treasure.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure, diamond in the rough for sure. Yeah. That's why I looked at it, because I was like, hey, and I was tapped out at the moment because I had two projects, or three actually. I just had all my money out at the moment, and so. I saw it went for sale, and then I went in there and looked around. I was like, yeah, it's a dump, And then I saw it sold online, because I got to search, in this particular neighborhood. I like to farm this area because I know the values and I just really like where we're at. But So I'm driving home one day and I see a car parked in the driveway. And I was like, oh, I wonder if that's the guy that bought this house. So I literally just screeched my truck over, still running, jump out of my truck, knock on the window. Hey, what's up? Are you the guy that bought it? And Mr. Corey right here was inside the car, and he goes, yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
man.
so we meet. I shake your hand. I'm like, this guy's cool. It turns out we're the exact same age. We're both 34. You're a family man. You're married. You got 3 beautiful little girls. I'm married. I've got 1 little girl. And, so we just kind of hit it off right off the bat. And it turns out we both really are passionate about getting information out and helping people out.
Yes.
And doing what we can to like work hard in our personal lives and take care of our families, but drive
100%.
relentlessly towards trying to become financially free.
100%.
And what got me most excited at first it was like, wow, I got a friend. It's kind of hard to find peers sometimes.
Yeah.
I find that people who
In
are
that
like,
realm,
are like 20 years older than me.
Yeah.
I'm hanging out with people my dad's age
Yeah.
instead of chilling with guys
Right.
my own age. So it was such a breath of fresh air. So hopefully doing this is going to build a community where there's just freaking thousands of us running around. We could get it together. But
that's really good, man.
One thing that really got me excited is that I found out immediately you're a AC man. You're a freaking HVAC guy, and I was like, woo, that's a good friend to have right there.
Yeah, man. Yep. Those certain screws are loose to be that guy.
Definitely. Well, so what ends up happening is I'm wrapping up my other remodel a block away from here, and I need some AC work done because if I get the remodel done, I've decided I'm going to keep it for an Airbnb in the back room, which was an addition. It was warm. It was like 8 degrees hotter than the rest of it. I was like, I need a new air conditioner. I'm going to put a split system in there. And so we get to talking about it. And you're like, no problem, man. Let's do that. And I was like, well, I'm not going to let you do it for free, So I decided, as a building contractor, I'd help you and guide you through the process and pull your permit and do your drawings and stuff. And then you help me out with some AC.
So thankful for that.
No cash out of my pocket, no cash out of your pocket. And we were able to, work together.
Yeah, man, if things could just be like that for everything.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think it'd be so much about the
money,
money,
a little bit more barter system. That's it, man. So I don't want to get too far away. I want to circle back around and get into the real estate stuff and whatever else. But let's really back all the way up. Let's talk a little bit more HVAC. And again, if you're not familiar, what does HVAC stand for?
So HVAC stands for heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. So that V is for like your exhaust fans in your bathrooms when
fart fans.
The fart fan.
Yeah, you gotta suck that stank out.
Your hood range for like your kitchen cooking over the stove. Right. Even when the microwave goes off and that fan or the dryer. So that's which is a crucial thing. That V gets left out. Can't leave the V behind.
Yeah, no, and that's a huge part of the inspection process. People don't think about a lot. Is that you have to have if you have a fan in your bathroom, that thing's got to vent outside. So it's not just blowing up in your attic and all this kind of stuff. So obviously down in Florida, the heating is, it's there, but that's not really the big thing. It's the AC part, the HVAC.
That's it, man. That's absolutely. Put a blanket on if you're cold here, right?
Yeah, man. So you install the actual pumps, the compressors, the duct work, all the ventilation systems, like the whole 9 yards when it comes to anything involving heating, ventilation, or air conditioning.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And how long have you been doing that?
Man, it's been, I want to say 14 years.
Okay, so but since
involved,
you're about 20?
Yeah, I've been involved for about 14 years. I'm 34 now, and so I think right at 1920, which my dad, he was in the trade long before I started.
So he's an HVAC guy.
He's an HVAC guy too, and he still is today.
Okay.
And so I kind of got that in, but I had the desire too. Like there was at one point, like I had this, and I had already sold like Kirby vacuums, and I sold perfume and cologne, and did these wild things, and then UPS, and just
the pavement. So you've always been a worker.
And wanted to, and like because I didn't finish high school, right, and I started working, and just had those kind of typical startup jobs, and then I finally had that desire of wanting like a real job and like trade with tools. I mean, I just had an instant burning desire, and I think it was around that time my mother's she was with this gentleman, Mark, and he was he in construction and remodeling, and just had that look and had the trucks and had the house and like had a good life.
Was he making pretty good money?
He was living close to the Jacksonville beach, and man, it inspired me, right? And I was like tools, and like I even called some HVAC companies and was like, hey, I'd love to come interview, and like, I did like, but learned real quick that, it's not like these other typical jobs, right? Like, grocery store or UPS or, you know, and so there was some qualifications I needed, right?
Okay,
And
okay. Before we get too wild, like tell me about these qualifications. Like what are you, like tell me what you mean. Like what is that?
so like I guess there's like a what is it, like an HVAC prep school, you know,
Trade school type situation, like a course
like a
you can take.
9 month. Yeah, I think some of them are 9 months, and then some of them are six. Like there's one that's like longer, and then one that's shorter, and then of course there's all kinds of like bigger and badder stuff.
Sure.
Past that, right? Like 8 years or 6 year.
Like if you want to go like be like a commercial
Johnson Controls or Siemens, doing like some major
big crazy stuff.
Yeah, commercial.
Right. Okay.
Which I never like got real far down that way. Touched it, had my hands on it a little bit. But yeah, so that trade school, you know, just teaches you, you know, about, you know, the fundamentals. And
so would you advise it? I mean, is that like something that you should do if you want to get in there?
Dude,
or is it
honestly, like it's different for everyone because and everybody will be different to it. You know, there's going to be some that just catch real quick and dive right in and get it and conquer and master and like go the distance, right?
Meaning like some guys just jump into work and they don't even bother with the trade school and they can pick it up.
Yeah, dude, 100%. And then there are some folks that may need to do that.
Right,
you
maybe
know?
a little bit more of a calm. They need the controlled environment before they transition to the world.
Because I mean, yeah, you can definitely get your feelings hurt around some of these like senior dudes that
you know, I don't want to talk smack about anybody, and this is unfortunate. This is a common thing that comes up on the podcast, is that, you know, the world has a certain vision of what a trade worker is, and it doesn't matter if we're talking drywall guy, if we're talking AC man, plumber, electrician. There is some 55-year-old guy who's been doing this for 40 years and is an asshole and has no money and has no future and will work until he dies because he didn't do what he needed to do in order to prepare himself to get to that next step, which obviously is what we're trying to avoid. But a lot of those guys are just dicks, you know, and they are not afraid to like show you about it, call you a moron and all this stuff.
Oh God,
again, man,
that's
like,
very light.
You're going to see that all the time, and like this is something, again, like the idea behind this podcast and these whole interviews is to give you an idea of what to expect, and unfortunately, that is a part of especially your early days, right? Like learning the trade, you have to learn from someone, and it's almost definitely going to be some old dickhead.
Dude.
Is that your experience?
So the guy that I was telling you about that was telling the guy like this isn't a controlled environment, that's the guy I ended up spending like a year and a half with.
And he trained you up.
And he trained me up.
Okay.
He really did, man. And like I just had that initial respect because, you know, like I said, my dad, you know, got me into like the biggest company at that time in Jacksonville, Florida, which was Snyder Heating and Air. And, you know, the Cape guy and like massive trucks. Every day, everyone, if you live in Jacksonville, Florida, you saw a Snyder truck.
Gotcha.
Everyone in the whole city, you saw a Snyder truck that day. But anyway, you know, so, and I was really grateful for that. Like I finally got the real job, and I, you know, was with my dad, and like.
So you were working on a crew with your old man?
With me and him, and they're for the install, because I went straight into installing these pieces of equipment, right? Which can be very dangerous. You know, installing a condensing unit, you know, that has pre-charged refrigerant gas in it, welding or, you know, soldering these lines on. But yeah, man, just jumped right in. Right, and was with Dad. There was on the install, like the whole install team. There was like 7 box trucks, and 2 guys per box truck. Okay. And
it's pretty typical for most AC, like 2-guy team.
2-guy team, for sure. There's always like a lead man and then a helper, right? And it didn't mean that like the helper was like belittled and lower than the lead man, but he was, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, well, you're subordinate.
He gets paid less, so you know, of course.
So real quick before we move on to this, I hate to cut you off, but in case somebody's out there watching, they're thinking like, well, my old man's not in the HVAC business. I'm not a trade school kind of guy. I just want to go to work. Can he get a job at that, like a company like that? Like, would he be able to do that?
Yeah, I think so. That was going to bring me to the point of like where people are at different levels involving like going into anything really in life, right? But like especially like HVAC, right? There's some guys that may need to do that program first, or there's dudes that can jump right in. Because there was the guy who I'm partnered with today. We started at Snyder at the same time. He had no experience either, right?
Okay.
And he started out as like the shop guy, and this was like a massive shop, dude.
Okay.
You know, big warehouse, multiple bays,
Gotcha.
and
So he just got his foot in the door.
and he got it right, and you know, I think he made a little less than me, but I was making like $10 an hour. You know, I think
And
he
this
was.
is 15 years ago.
This was
Yeah, so you know that was a little bit went a little further than it's more like 15, let's say now.
Now
But like
guys are
minimum
starting
wage,
out like $15 to $18 an hour. And
pretty
I'm
damn
like,
good
man,
for a dude
you
who's
guys,
just starting.
Yeah, you guys are, man, you guys got it good.
Yeah,
you
no
know.
doubt.
But yeah,
Okay.
but yeah, so starting out, you can't. I mean, dude, it's like sell yourself at anything you ever want to do, right? If it's going to work for an HVAC company, and you don't have any experience, and you don't even know the first tool to buy, right?
Right. Yeah.
But you just have a desire, like I did.
Seems like something. Yeah. Like that seems like something I can do.
Find a way.
One thing that I love about what you did is that like you're like, yeah, I'm freaking. You didn't graduate high school. You're like, you know what? I just want to I just want to be successful.
Yeah.
Kind of have that same sort of drive like me. I just want to go make some money.
Yeah.
I know that I'm capable of doing this stuff, and you were just drawn towards doing something out there. Your old man had, you know, a connection. You got in, but like you said, you can still do that. You don't need the connection. You'll walk into any HVAC place if that's what you want to do. And especially if it's a smaller company, I'd imagine that's easier to kind of get in there sometimes because they've got a little bit more latitude.
Yeah, but there's more jobs at those bigger
That's
companies.
true. Yeah, more
like
openings.
little, you know, they need like
well, just like
they
you
need
were
the
saying with
corner
your
scrub
partner.
and
Yeah,
the
right.
offices,
You
you know,
know, scrape the garbage taker out or
something.
Yeah, but what I was going to say is that what's great is that you didn't go to trade school, so you didn't pay the money or the tuition to do this course for 9 months, let alone like paying all your bills and everything else you'd have to do during that time or working a second job. Yeah. You got paid money to learn how to do HVAC.
I did, man. I did, and it took me like to install like an outdoor unit. That's where I started, right? Because you know the air handlers, are a little more involved, right?
Okay.
So
someone
start, yeah, and what I think like baseline, because like my buddy that I was telling you about that started out as a shop guy, he worked his way, he did end up like working his way up, and literally went from shop guy to being a maintenance technician,
right.
and then I think he went into service after that, like being a service technician, like when it's broke and you call the AC company and someone comes out, that's like the big guys, right?
He's just working his way through the whole cycle.
And then installation, right? Could have went to installation before service, but just, and that's the thing. Like, it's different with everybody. So me starting out in install, like, it was right for me, I guess. Like I was motivated as shit, and within like, I want to say a good month to 2 months, like I had that job down. Like I knew.
You can learn it pretty quick.
I mean, when you can take like what looks like a refrigerator almost, right, off of a high ledge, box truck with a dolly by yourself, like makes you feel good.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? At that age and doing that, like, and then other people seeing that have never seen that, and you just did that, and I'm not a big guy. Right. Like, and some of these boxes of these units would be taller than me.
Yeah, sure. Well, just getting after it though.
Yeah, so. But I had that job handled, and I would come in and I would literally like get underneath my lead man, like his leg, like go underneath his legs and start working on other stuff.
Just finding something to do, dude, like that.
Getting in his way, and they're like,
homie, listen, man, like, and guys, if you've never been in the trades, or if you are in the trades and you don't do this right now, like that is the way to be successful. Like it's about that efficiency. Like your goal should be to cram as much movement towards the end of that project in every second that you're at that job, man. And this is especially true when you're starting. This is a pro tip. You need to listen to this real close. When you are first starting out and you got a guy who knows what he does, like let's say, you're out there and you hire up a new helper, brand new. One of these guys calls, hey, Corey, can I get a job? Yeah, come on over. You give him a job, right? Let's give that as an example. you're not going to know what to do because you're new. You don't know the job yet. You have to rely on him. He's going to be busy working. You're going to be thinking like, oh, I'm not going to like take this moment. He needs to learn a couple other things before I get to this thing. Yeah. And so you're just going to be standing there feeling like picking your nose. Yeah. Yeah. But don't pick your nose. Like if you catch yourself going like, I don't know what to do right now.
Yeah.
If it's appropriate to ask your lead guy,
bug him.
Hey man, what can I be doing? What can I help you to do? And if he's too busy, or if he's one of these cranky old assholes we talked about earlier, then figure something out for yourself. Because when he needs you, he ain't gonna be shy about telling you about it, right? But you can be picking up trash. You can be cleaning, organizing the truck. You can be making sure that your stuff is ready. Hey, your water bottle needs to fill in, stuff like that.
I mean, just
all that stuff. Like you can be moving along and asking him questions. Hey, what are you doing there? Why are you doing this? And you do it tactfully, right? Like you don't want to be a thorn in the side, but you want to show that guy, look, dude, like I'm here to learn from you. I know and I respect what you do, and I want to do what you're doing. Like teach me everything. So I love that you're saying that. You're literally underneath this guy's legs working, man.
Yeah, man.
Love that.
Yeah, it got to the point where like he would just get out of the way, and I would just continue to do the rest of his job.
Oh, and man, it's so hands-on, right? I mean, like you have to.
He loved that.
Right.
That's why I wasn't the guy getting yelled at like, this ain't a controlled environment.
Right. Because you were willing to do it. You were willing to go for it. So you were saying earlier, you started off, you're making $10 an hour. That lasts a long time. How long did you start at that like entry level?
So yeah, man, and there were like opportunities because I was so involved, and I did float with the different crews. So some days this job might have been harder, right? So I knew all the installers. I gained the respect through all these guys, right?
Because how? Because you were
just like a go-getter and just did, and they didn't have to tell me nothing, and I just got it,
learning,
and I wanted it, and that's what, and I think that's why. But there's always 7 trucks, 2 guys, and like that's 14 dudes. Not every dude's gonna like you, right?
Yeah, sure, of course.
But there were opportunities, man, with that respect where I could make more money, like little side monies, to where I would be on Snyder's clock even, and then like the baddest dude there on that whole install team would like, allow me to do some shit for some extra money on the spot,
Right.
So it's like really cool moments. And then like I learned what scrapping was and and
recycling copper or whatever.
Copper, and asking for maybe units, not just taking shit,
Right.
like
of course. No, being ethical, but like leveraging like access to what you've got. I mean, you go on the Reddit boards and you see like these electricians like are saving clippings, stuff that you would otherwise 100%. Throw away. You can freaking recycle that if you have the time.
Those little wire, like a 2-inch piece of wire, just like how you save pennies in those big water jugs. If you feel that, dude, and copper was up. I mean, that's a good little
absolutely. There's a little couple ways that you can do some of this stuff, and that doesn't like take you any extra time. Again, it's efficiency. And this circles right into the whole big picture, right? It's not just like you can make a couple extra bucks here, but when you are working under the mindset of like, I'm gonna do everything I can, especially things that don't take extra time or extra effort.
Right.
If you think about like the quality of work, like how many times you're doing some trim or something, you're going like, oh, I can freaking cheat this, oh no, I'm not gonna cheat it, dude. I'm gonna like just go back. I'm gonna make this 1/16 of a cut. Maybe it's not perfectly square. I'm just gonna give it that little bevel. And
that's it.
Ooh, now it looks perfect. Like that's the kind of thing that makes your work look just
100%.
And when you do that, that's when you start making money. So tell me when you start making money, man. I want to hear about that.
That's the thing, man. Like after those 2 years with Snyder, because the whole shindig, I left Snyder,
But you've got like 1 to 10 on AC knowledge. What do you got in those 2 years? 0 to what?
Oh God, like dude, I didn't do an air handler yet, right?
Okay.
So, but I knew of it and how to do certain things to it. Because remember, I basically kicked my lead man out of the way to do something.
Yeah, sure.
And he did the parts that I hadn't done right yet, and I hadn't done an air handler 100% by myself yet, but at that moment, I want to say I was definitely at that time probably 50% of my game. 50% of my game.
Like expert, like everything there is to know about like
Yep.
residential install. Okay.
Yeah, and just install, because that's all I did was just installation.
Were you making $10 those whole 2 years?
those whole 2 years?
So
and
you
like
were
some little
just
things here and there. I made
right.
some
Yeah,
extra.
you're throwing some extra.
And what was really cool is they did ghost hours. So ghost hours was like, okay, me and my guy went and did an install, right? It took us 3-4 hours, right? There's another install. We go do that install. Well, we would get paid 8 hours for each install, even though we only worked 8 to 10 hours.
It's production. It's production.
Yeah,
So
dude,
if you
so
can
that
work
was
that
kinda
efficiency,
cool, right?
another good reason to freaking move your ass. Yeah,
That's
right.
crazy. Like $160 for a day and 2 installs I did.
Right.
Whoa, like today, it just wouldn't be happening. Right?
Yeah, right. Of course. But
No
at that
way.
time, dude, when you're at the start of your game,
Yeah,
like
I didn't care. I was
any
just so
money
happy.
you can make, you're learning.
Yeah.
Like you're going to
Yeah.
school and they're paying you
Dude.
money, and now you're making twice as much as what you know. I mean, there are ways to do this, and like it's not gaming the system because you're getting paid based on your production at that point. Like technically you're hourly, but you're doing these.
You know what
jobs.
what else was cool is they did like a tool account too. So if I needed tools, like, we were at the supply house every day.
Of course.
Like every day we were there before the job, right? To pick up whatever. And so you know, and you know, we had a tool account. We could get whatever we needed as far as tools. And they would take a portion out of your check. Like every week.
Okay, so
And
they're
it,
like basically
you know,
helping you finance.
like $50 they take out of your check.
Right.
Dude, you know what I mean? And
So
like,
you buy $500 for
Yeah.
a whole suite
Oh,
of
God, yeah.
tools, and then
Yeah.
10 weeks later you got it paid for. You
That's
didn't even
it.
see the money. It's not like a
Yeah.
cat, dude. I mean,
which
that's
was cool.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, that's cool. You know?
Losing tools, because it's very easy. I think that's like the first main thing. Like, keep up with your shit.
Oh, dude, I've found like doing demos and stuff. I've had tools fall out of the attic from AC Men. You know,
dude,
freaking
yeah.
like roll of tape,
Yeah.
you know, and pops you in the head. I found DeWalt drills up in
Wow,
there.
I don't.
know,
I've been.
like
I've
shears,
left a few.
the whole
I've left a
nine,
couple
bud.
drills behind.
Yeah.
You know, and the thing is, you know, it's crazy. Like, probably some of those things. How long a guy looked for that shit.
Yep.
And couldn't find it.
Right, and I
because
find
of the
it because it
insulation.
literally falls on my head when I'm taking the ceiling down. Black eye.
I have spent an hour looking
Searching.
for a duck
Yeah.
knife.
Right.
Because I had just bought it, and I'm like, not another one. This
Yeah.
is fucking number 20 at this point,
Yeah,
you know. And
yeah.
I'm just so pissed because, like, I'm fine, you know, I'm tired of this. Like,
Yeah,
so I
yeah.
looked for an hour and still don't find it.
Oh, dude, this is again. It's like as a drywall finisher, it's like, you know, the worst thing in the world is starting over with a new knife because you got to break it in, you got to limber it up, you got to round it off, you know, and it's
they
like
stab the sheetrock too much.
yeah, exactly.
And,
or
man.
like it's like, damn, this one's like more flexible than
yeah.
the other one that I like, or this
Yeah.
one's too stiff or whatever. And it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
if you lose that tool or you break it, it's
Yeah.
you know, it's like
Yeah,
do
I
whatever
totally
you can to
feel
like
that.
preserve
Yeah.
your tools and like
Yeah,
oh
yeah.
man, like you get the feel for it and like you just like your tool, you know.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
and you treat it right and
Yeah.
you do what you can to try and preserve it. But yeah, it is what it is. You know, that's just part of the cycle. So
Yeah,
okay,
man.
so couple years go by.
Yeah.
Now you're 50% there. What do you do next?
So, like, you know, like the guy said, you know, he's like, tell them you're making $15 an hour and I'll back that up.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, cool.
But you were
So-
making 10.
But I was making 10.
Okay.
And you know, and that's coming from the guy who just let me go. And like, I was like, okay, you know, and then, and so I did just that, right? And,
You walked into another company.
Walked into another company, which was like another big company, right? Maybe not as big as Snyder, but like they were upcoming. And see, at that time, there, you know, some other companies had popped up. Like, God, what was the name of that company? I can't remember at the moment. But anyways, Air McCall. So Air McCall, decent company, definitely doing some things right. They're still in business today. Worked with them for 2 years, but I got my immediate 15.
So you got a 50% raise.
I did right away. So
Okay.
I felt really good about that,
hell yeah.
you know. And see, at Snyder, each year you would get $1 raise.
Okay.
So that's right. I did after the first year. You know, I think I did get
You're
my
making
11.
a little bit more.
I got my 11.
Yeah, fair
Yeah.
enough. Well, that's all right.
And then, you know, after, you know, that second year, I go from 11 to 15, you know.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, I'm moving up in the world, right?
Yeah, hell
And, so that was really good. And what I learned with this company, they were like, you know, every 2 weeks, getting paid every 2 weeks. So that first paycheck was like, you're waiting a month. You're busting your ass for a month, not seeing shit, So, and, and basically that's where I really like took it from 50% to, 90, within like 6 months.
Really? How did you do that? How did that happen?
So, and basically, dude, you fake it till you make it, man.
Yeah?
You know what I mean? Like, I stopped telling people I don't know what this is, and I just did it.
Yeah.
I just did it.
Right.
Ruined some shit, messed some stuff up,
Right.
And well, not too bad, but like, I did ask some questions.
You boogered it up a little bit, but you learned from that. And
oh, man. And like, did that first air handler by myself, and I'll never forget, like, it was like I couldn't walk away from it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
sure.
Even my partner's like, man, are you like done messing with it, dude? I'm like, yeah, I think so, because I was trying to perfect it or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, and especially like anything I do today, like I want it to just, it's gotta look perfect.
It's gotta
dude.
be
It's
right.
gotta look sweet, man.
Yeah, definitely. Take pride in what you're working on, man. Like your name is attached to that sucker. It's not just not just the company you're representing. Like in this case, you work for this company. You got to do a good job because they hire you. They pay you money to do a job. You got to do that job right.
100%.
But even to me, it's all about personal self-respect.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, I don't want my name attached to something that's going to look like dog meat. Like I tell customers sometimes, they're like, hey, I talked to this painter and he said you could just do this, and then they'll just say some like terrible thing that will look like total dog crap. It won't last. And I'll say, you can hire somebody else to do that. And I'm like, with all due respect, I'm not putting my hands on something unless it meets my quality of my standard.
100%.
And
100%.
my standard is like way the heck higher than what you're talking about. And so I'm not a good fit. You can probably find somebody who'd be willing to do that, but I don't advise it, and I'm not going to put my name on it. And sometimes people get a little, feathers get a little ruffled about that. But generally speaking, most people have respect for that because they go, wow, this guy like actually cares about what I'm doing. And I do care. It's like, it's not just a pride thing. It's like, I'm an expert at what I do, and I want to keep learning and I want to get better. And you don't do that if you freaking cut corners all the time.
Dude, yeah. I tried that. Like I even, early on, like at Air McCall, actually, there was at one point, like a concrete hurricane pad that the outdoor unit, the AC unit sits on. Right. And, and they're pre-poured, right? Like one person can dolly this thing around because the main inside is almost like styrofoam, right? But, leveling this pad, and I'm like, I don't have any dirt, and like, didn't have enough dirt in this. It needed something, right?
To support it.
So I take a PVC glue can and then cover it up, But I got caught for that shit.
Yeah.
Somehow I got caught.
Yeah.
Putting a damn but I'm glad I did because, I had to own up to that because there was no hiding that. You know what I mean? And like, I've never really been like the lion type, you know what I mean?
Yes, yeah.
I just can't. I can't do it,
And you shouldn't.
Right.
On top of you can't, you shouldn't.
I've tried and it doesn't work. I'm just no good at it, So I guess I'm not lying, right? But and at that moment, like, so I tried to cut corners. I was that guy and learned real quick. Like,
and
I don't want to be
young
that
guys are
guy.
like that.
Yeah, I think so because it's like there's a lot going on.
You got a lot to learn, dude. I mean, it's not like and then you got somebody crawling up your ass all the time, screaming at you about this.
And then it's like not your company, so you don't really
and you're thinking
care.
Like, what the hell? Yeah, exactly. That's a mindset that so many people have.
True, yeah.
And you know what that is? That is a recipe to become this freaking 55-year-old douchebag who's making Well, he's making $20 an hour. But he's still installing, and he will until the day he drops dead because he doesn't have another option. That mindset is what leads you to that.
There's guys,
I mean, how many guys at the companies you work for, the owners, the contractors, the really successful HVAC people how many of those guys cut corners and are total dirtbags? Not a lot of them. And if they are, their success is short-lived because they're going to get busted. And the same thing is true with real estate investing, man. Oh my God, I've seen so many like flips that look like flips. They give it the bad name. God. You walk in there and people go, what in the hell did you do? Like this just looks horrendous.
Yeah. It's easy to put new stuff.
Lipstick on the pig is what they always
like,
call it. But like,
you
dude,
can make perfectly good, brand new look bad.
yeah, and,
you know?
and that's the thing. And like, you know, those guys may make a few bucks. And like, I've had situations where I felt jealous sometimes where I'm like, man, like I'm putting a lot more money and a lot more time and a lot more care. And that guy made more money on that deal. Like, why am I wasting my time?
Yeah.
Guess what? I'm
You
in this
sleep
I'm
better.
a decade in.
You sleep better too.
Yeah. Oh, I sleep real good. I sleep like a baby. You know?
Right.
Because I've got a clear conscience. I'm proud of the work that I do now, and I've done the same thing. I've done garbage work. Like, you know, anytime if something goes wrong in a deal now, I feel like this is, you know, the universe getting back at me for something I did back in the day. You know. But you know, that's part of learning. But the sooner that you can get yourself into this mindset of like doing excellent work, work, that's when the tables like really, I mean, I started making more money drywall, I made more money real estate investing. I can't believe how much money and work I put in a place like this. And it's freaking money. Like your house right now, this house we started talking about, you decided you're going to cut out these drain lines. You didn't have to do that.
No,
you could have fixed it. You could have like put it together, sold that house, and no one would have been the wiser. But it would have been the wrong thing to do.
Oh, for sure.
So you forked out
for sure
$25,000.
Truck money, man. Yeah.
Truck money, you know, or whatever.
Money.
Yeah, but you did it because it's the right thing to do. You know, and then you know the plans changed anyway, and you're gonna hold on to the place, which is cool. But.
I think that's what really made me decide to really go the extra mile, dude. Because it's like if I'm gonna do this, instead of just reselling it, and we're gonna hold it and manage a vacation rental business out of it and get more. You know, I was like, you know, those good reviews that are going to come in is what's actually going to buy that damn truck.
Right. Exactly.
You know, the ones that are coming in that are the toilet was clogged because I don't know if there's old pipes under there.
Or God forbid you have a flooding situation. You know, you got a big party come up and it ruins everything that you did. And like, you know, this is the big message here is that like, yes, you do that for yourself, but you should have the character and the integrity to do that for other people too. If you know something is going to go to crap, you either need to be really forthright about it with the person that you're selling so they know exactly what they're getting into. Hey, I fixed this entire house up. It looks great, but underneath it's literally rotting away and the wires in the walls you're having the house rewired right now. I just swung by and talked to the boys.
100%.
You know, I've got this fabric wire in here. It's going to be fine for the next 10 years, but your house might burn down someday, you know, because it's going to work its way through. If you tell people, I guess that is what it is, but, you know, don't do that. Most people just try to hide it. They try and, like, hide the can underneath the plate, you know, and they try and cut the corner. They save a couple monies, and then all of a sudden, like, they've just got this bad juju floating around. Don't do that. Like, just do it right the first time. Start like the day that you walk into your, you know, into your trade school or the day you get that first gig as a sweeping the floors. Like you go in there with the mindset, 100%. I'm going to be the best. I'm going to figure out what to do. I'm going to learn more than everybody. And all of these people are going to work for me someday. Like if you go in with that kind of mindset, and I'm going to be, not only am I going to be fast, not only am I going to be hardworking, I'm going to be the best freaking installer not only this company's ever seen, but anybody. You go in there like that, woo, you're gonna be in good shape, man. That's the way to make money, you know.
I would, you know, I back that up 100%. I agree. That's the only way, you know. And it's really good when that connection starts happening with yourself. Right. You know, and you're putting that out, that energy and everything else that comes from that within yourself when you make that commitment. Dude, it's a wonderful thing, and things just come, you know. The money, you know, sort of comes a little more. Right. The respect comes a little more. Yeah.
For yourself and from other people.
Yeah, and then you're noticing too, like, shit, I actually think a little, like, I'm smarter, I feel. So, like, wait, every time a problem comes at me, I have a solution. Where did that, how? Right. You know, and that feels really good. Absolutely, then you're like, I'm kind of really good at custom shit here, or you know what I mean? Anything custom at anything you do is better than just the norm, right? Like,
so dude, let me I don't want to, you know, we don't have to get into like a full autobiography or anything like that, but like can you tell me, before we move on from the HVAC stuff and we sort of start converting over into the investment stuff, so we talked a little bit about like you were working for a couple of years and then you moved to another company, you got some new opportunities, now you've got yourself up to 90% of expertise. And you're 3 years into this thing. You're 22, 23 years old.
Yeah, and that's what it felt like, right? Like after I did that air handler, and then like boom from there, just kind of like what I was talking about a second ago. Just you're smarter, you're wiser, you're making a little more money. Yeah. Man, it once I found the investors, or the investors found me, I should say. Because there was this guy, and his real name wasn't Elvis, but that was his name. Everyone called him Elvis. Looked like Elvis, had the sideburns, he dyed his hair, and just had the whole look, man. Had the whole look, dude. But just jeans and cowboy boots and tucked in black shirt with a belt and big buckle. Elvis, dude. But instead of a guitar, he had a dolly because he was coming by to get everyone's old AC equipment that was coming out.
And he worked at the shop.
Worked at the shop, like on the job sites. So all the guys that were doing new.
Did this guy work for the company?
So he didn't work for them. He would go to multiple companies and go to all the job sites and just load up. And he had that in with them, And this guy had a huge used AC business, like equipment business. You know what I mean?
So he would. So you guys are taking out an old AC, putting a new one in. He would come get the old one.
He'd come get the old
ones,
and
then he resold them, fixed them, whatever.
He'd hook us up with Gatorades and sometimes a $20 bill. And, like on Fridays, sometimes he'd give us a 20. Me and my boy would split it.
Yeah, sure.
Just old school mentality, good stuff, man. And but he actually, dude, I got to go to his house one time because he, after talking to him on the job site, you see him every now and then. Sure. I ended up giving him my contact info at one point because I knew what he was kind of doing. He sold used ACs, And I got to, I finally got a call from an investor that he hooked me up with,
A real estate investor?
Yeah.
So somebody who buys and sells houses, basically.
Yeah. And yeah, dude, they like didn't know who and what was gonna come of this situation, but I was like, hell yeah, some side work, dude, right? And I'm gonna make some money, and yeah, man. So I ended up working with this investor for a while, and it became the norm that. I'd buy my used equipment from Elvis, and then I'd put the equipment in for Clay.
Clay is the investor.
Clay is the investor, man. And I mean, dude, this guy had other investors that were, just closing on, rental properties, dude. They wanted rental properties and quadplexes and so I mean, I was cranking out like 4 to 6 to 8 of these every month at a certain point.
Oh, you're kidding. Okay, so you're still working. Like day job at your company, making your $15 and whatever, learning more, doing whatever, and then on the side, weekends, nights, whatever. Is that?
Yeah. So so my days eventually consisted of working for Air McCall, right? And maybe doing an install for an investor, and then I did involve like 2 other companies at one point. If you get overloaded, like give me a call. I might have a slow day or whatever.
Right. As a sub, basically.
Well, I was actually a W-2 employee for them.
For other companies.
For other companies.
Okay.
So I had like 3 W-2s jobs. Okay. And then I had, and then it became 2, investors. That I would install their. And they didn't care. They didn't care what it looked like, what condition, as long as it cooled that house. I was like, okay, because they were kind of reforming like those kind of more rundown areas. You know what I mean? Sure. That was their target, and they were really good at it. And they were cranking them out. They had some investors, from I think Australia that were just freaking nuts, right? And they just trusted these guys that I was working with.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'd make $1,000 a pop. You know what I mean?
For every install?
For every install.
Okay. And how long does this take you?
And so one I could do by myself in a matter of sometimes 3-4 hours. Sometimes I'd have to come back the next day. So it kind of depends.
So one of the questions I always ask is, can you make $1,000 a day on your trade?
Oh yeah.
So the answer is,
100%.
Yeah.
Especially these days. Dude.
yeah. And
Oh
you
my
were
gosh.
doing this when you were 22, 23. And by the way, when we were 22 and 23, the economy was still in the freaking dirt. It was just after the 2008 recession was rolling through. We were still in the midst of a garbage ass. And so this guy who had 3 years of experience got canned from his first gig, probably, maybe a little unjustly, but alas, so 0 to 3, didn't graduate high school, and now you're making $1,000 a pop as a 23-year-old kid.
4 to 6 to 8
Bro.
times a month, plus working with these other companies, and then copper was like crazy at that point, right? So I think it was like almost like $4 or whatever.
So
per
you're
pound.
recycling that.
I was
you're making money.
recycling.
You're just
dude,
freaking
and
hustling, dude.
Yeah.
So let me
like
give you
nonstop.
Let me give you a quick comparison here, because one of the things that we talk about a lot is that I didn't get into my blue collar life, like living it full on the way that I do now, until I was in my late 20s. I graduated high school. I've always been a worker, and I've been worker. But I went to college, and I was working while I was in college, and then I was a school teacher, and then I went in the Marine Corps,
That is
and I'm like
amazing.
doing all
Dude,
that's
that's
all
so
great.
cool, man.
But you know what? I was a freaking straight A student, magna cum laude graduate, means top 5% of my class, working full time. I had a full time job since the time I'm seventh grade. So
Right?
13 until then.
That's amazing,
Guess what I
bro.
was making when I was 23?
What's that?
I was making, 23, I was a school teacher, so I was making about $800 a week, working full time. And I was a hard worker, man. Like it was, $800 a week. And I felt rich. I was like, ooh, I'm making $800 a month or a week. But the thing is, didn't matter that I had great grades. Didn't matter that I had a high school diploma and a 4-year degree and a freaking Eagle Globe and Anchor on my collar and a white collar job. I wasn't making any money. Not because there's anything wrong with that stuff, but because that stuff didn't enable me to create the kind of value that things like you were doing. A guy who's out there to literally like put your hands on something. It was this when I started at the beginning of the day, and now it's this at the end of the day. And the difference between that, it's called value. Yeah. And that is where you get that $1,000 a day. You start making real money. So I'm jelly because I wish I knew this. That's why we have this podcast, to tell you guys, man. Like if you were that guy who had, just like you said, like you have this draw, like I like the tools and I like the truck and I like putting my hands on stuff. And I'm not supposed to be sitting in a classroom and I'm not supposed to be working on my computer behind a desk.
I was bored.
Dude,
I was
it's boring.
bored.
It's boring.
I was a lover boy too, man. So like, that's all I thought about was like loving the right girl, and like definitely. I need to make some money for her,
right?
And
yeah,
like,
dude.
And I want to do some fun stuff, like and I want to have nice stuff.
Yeah, and take care of. You wanted kids, and so you're 23. You're getting pretty close. You must be starting your family at this time, anyway, right?
Pretty close, man. Yeah. Met her at a bar.
Okay.
Met her at a bar, man, because somebody spilled a drink on her while they were dancing, and then she was crying, and I asked her what was wrong, and that's how that started.
No shit, that's awesome. Man.
What's wrong with you? I think what you crying for, or something like that. like being rude a little bit, I think, for some reason. And I didn't even want to go out that night. Like I'm usually the one dragging other people out, and tonight I was actually dragged out, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and met my wife that night, but right?
The consummate drummer.
But yeah, man, that was a turn there. Not necessarily real quick, but we got pregnant pretty quick. About a year into our relationship, and got married.
Okay.
Bought our first house. And like, yeah, man, I just remember. Like that being a rough moment too, when when we had our first child, I was working for a whole different company, right? At this point, I've been hopping companies. Like I don't even care. Like I've had a taste of the HVAC world. Sure. I know what this is. I know what it is in the house of these companies and how that goes. And it's like I had a different fire about me where I was like, I knew I didn't want to be a company man.
Okay.
I knew I wanted to be more, like run my own AC company, right?
Okay. So now you're reaching that. You're going like, okay, I've learned what I have to learn.
Yep.
Now it's time to,
Yeah.
okay.
Because I really didn't even need to work for a company at that point because I was just doing so well, you know.
Sure.
I thought at that
And
level.
these other things, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, why would
dude.
you know, I mean, it makes sense. You're going to spend your time making $15, $20, $25 an hour if you can make $1,000 a day.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah,
like,
man.
no, you know,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I'm not, you know.
And you know, like every day wasn't like $1,000, but like, you know, I feel like I did really well.
Doing good. Yeah, well,
You
especially
know?
for a young dude, man.
And it just
Like,
kind of,
yeah, for sure.
it came to me because I did the right. I stopped hiding, you know, cans of glue under
Right.
you know, a
Yeah,
concrete
you started
pad.
taking pride in that work, learning the value of that
Yeah,
for sure, man.
Yeah. So through manifestation, I guess, you know, but man, I gave it my all, and I think that's, you know, be you know, honest, you know, just be honest. You know?
Correct. Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, it's a two-way street in every relationship with the customer, with your employees, with your helpers, with, I mean, with anybody, you know. So, okay, man, so tell me, let's fast forward then today. So you bouncing around and you said, I need to be a company man. So what are you doing now? What's your...
Had started, you know, a partnership that went on for about 8 months, and was the like that was a big downfall. That was my first, like, I know this, everything's been great, and this is where it falls. That's where I actually found out I wasn't invisible, you know. And this is where it finally comes back for me, right? And it wasn't good, and you know, and I didn't do anything like wrong. I just got taken advantage of. I got taken advantage of and felt that I did something wrong at that point, right?
Okay.
Internally in myself, and like, but this guy like totally tried to screw me, and then I had to go fight for it and get it, and with an attorney fight for it, not like barehanded or something.
Like money?
Yeah. Yep.
So guy basically stole money from you, right?
He did. Yeah. And not like $20,000 to like, you know, a couple hundred. And
God, that's freaking brutal, dude.
yeah, it was a couple $100,000, and through that we had accumulated, you know, through you know, that money that I was making, and you know, I skipped all the stuff about, you know, mutual funds and bonds, you know what I mean, and Franklin Templeton, and investing with them, and like, you know, making some decent money.
You were putting your money to work.
Yeah,
you were earning.
Yeah,
we bought the house. Started churning.
The house flourished, the market, you know, made some damn money, dude. You know.
Yeah. So you were making money at work, but then you were making money with your money.
Yeah.
The blue collar blueprint.
Correct.
That's what this whole thing is about, dude.
Yeah.
You learn, you earn, and then you churn, and so you did all that. So this is
paying for education, dude. Is like, that's the only way.
Right.
You know?
And when education, we're not talking, it's not just trade school, it's not just a university, it's just like getting the books, getting the seminars, going to the courses, taking the, you know, your the first thing you said, the RIA classes, you know,
exactly.
Like all of that stuff, man. It's
mentors, like you were saying, like,
yeah, oh, absolutely, dude. Oh, that's like, to me, that's the most invaluable, you know.
Quickest.
Watching the Blue Collar Blueprint podcast, you know.
That's it.
Damn, man. So this guy freaking robs you blind.
Yeah, he really tried to, man. It was pretty bad. And see, what they did was, and this is huge for anybody out there, you know, about LLCs. It's easy for someone to do this too. So be mindful and just know that, you know, when you're in a partnership, like, it's easy, like, for you to be in the, you know, wrong partnership and not even know it. It's very easy to end up there because, you know, the state is not a person. The state doesn't care about any of us.
They don't. No. Well, you know, and honestly,
in a sense, right? Like,
so, dude, you know, what you're talking about is so right. Like, partnerships are appealing because, like, in your case, you went to go like own this like company, right, with a guy who was licensed.
Yeah.
So he was the licensee, right? Yeah. So he was the one who like made it all legal for that entity, and then you bought in to own this company together, right?
Yeah,
That's basically what
like a 40%, 40% like shareholder equity.
So you had 40%, he owned 60%, and then he just tried to say, "No, I'm taking your 40%," basically.
Yeah, by you know, forging my signature on a state resignation
So just
document.
like real shady, terrible stuff.
Oh yeah.
But to finish off my point,
Yeah.
be careful about getting involved. If, in my opinion, if you're
Attorneys.
not married to a person, you should not be buying any houses with them. Like, I love this guy. Like, you become like very quickly like one of my best friends, and like we can work together and we can do all kinds of stuff. I wouldn't jeopardize our friendship, you know, by doing that. And you just can't risk. You can't risk your family. I can't risk my family, and I trust you implicitly, man. Like before we started recording this, you're like, "Here's the passcode to my phone." And I was like, "Well, here's the passcode to my phone." You know, like it was all cool.
Right.
Nothing like that. So it's not like saying like, "Oh, I'm afraid you're gonna freaking steal hundreds of thousands of dollars from me." It's nothing like that. Yeah. But you have to like, unless you were married to that person, you shouldn't be buying any house with anybody. Yeah. That's you know, personally, that's my opinion. I've been burned too, you know. This is what it is.
Yeah, and I was so young, like and I had a lot going on at the time, and like I didn't know any better. I'd never done anything like that. Yeah. Like I'm getting, I was pitched a sweet salary weekly, and like. Oh shit! I mean, I
chance
got
to own
it,
a business,
so,
like take that next step. Like you
That's
felt that hunger.
Man.
Like I'm not supposed to work for somebody. Here was your chance. You had you worked hard. You're a freaking young guy. You got a young
ready
family.
to become management. Like I'm buying my way into management, dude.
Right. Yeah, dude. That's a freaking baller move, man. Like that's no joke, you know.
That would have been sweet. That would have been sweet. It really would have been cool. I'm glad, of course, that it went the way it did because things are the way they are now, right?
Yeah. So you get kicked in the nuts, and then what happens?
Yeah, dude. Went on a deep dive in the wrong direction. Man. I started drinking way more. Did some drugs I shouldn't have done. And just really having a great time though.
Well,
don't get me
why
wrong.
People do drugs. They're fun for a while, you know.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. And it was like it was like 8 months on with, that partnership. And when that happened, it was like 8 months downhill. It's how long that lasted. And I chose my family, dude. I mean, it had come to that road at a certain point, and I chose my family, dude. Yeah. Of course, my 3 daughters and my wife, you know. And I ended up moving. I moved from Jacksonville to Sarasota here, and that was like 7 years ago. And yeah, man, I definitely got in a way better spot, but I had to start over. And before I moved, like I had started doing like renovations, because I had some stabs at doing like other things outside of HVAC, being in all these houses.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was doing some repairs here and there, and
picking up some of that side money.
Had some chances to do something. I just felt really confident, like I could do stuff.
Again, not to cut you off, but like one thing I keep telling people, like obviously when you go into a trade, your goal is to be an expert, like the best guy, like we talked about earlier, at that trade. If you're an AC man, you're the best damn installer. If you're a drywaller, you're the best drywaller. But when you learn how to do one thing, it's like you can look over at the other guy and be like, "Oh, I see what you're doing. Like that's how you install trim. Like that's how you hang a door.
Exactly.
Like that's how you grind the concrete. Like that's how you build the deck.
Yeah.
It's like that's so easy. I got those.
That's
and like
exactly how I felt.
You start picking it up. You know what a good analogy is? When you go into first grade, right? Mm-hmm. Teacher teaches you A, B, C, and then they teach you the sounds. And like when you put these letters together, you go p, apple. And you can learn. They don't teach you how to read every damn word in the English language. Yeah. They teach you like the basic structure. This is the alphabet. These are the sounds that the alphabet make, and now you can take those little like basic informations, and now you can read any word in the English language.
Yeah,
and so your teacher doesn't have to teach you, this is how you do every single thing. You learn the fundamentals, and then you can apply it, and you can take that as far as you want to go.
And that's what it's about.
And so you do this, right? You master the AC thing, and now you're learning, and you're picking up some other stuff. You get into remodel work. That's cool. That's cool.
We started our first LLC. Which was Amcor Management.
Okay.
Amcor Management Group, and which is still active today. And Yeah, dude. Started out with the good old home advisor, you know.
Yeah, sure,
Good
sure.
old
Getting
home
some
advisor,
leads.
boy,
Yeah.
you know, and like, yeah, it was good. It was good. It was good. And then started like getting ripped off again.
What kind of stuff were you doing? Like what kind of like
Just
projects
like,
are you doing?
just like, you know, like at that point, any and everything.
Right.
'Cause
Handyman stuff?
yeah,
Bigger stuff,
yeah,
little stuff? Like,
straight handyman stuff.
okay.
And
My
like,
door doesn't close right. And
so yeah, man. Like
screen needs
drywall
replaced.
patches.
Yeah.
You know, when I was really not that good at drywall.
Yeah, well,
back then.
that's pretty typical.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and yeah, just kind of getting a feel for it. Really not. I wasn't in the like, I was no good. You know what I mean? Like, I was no good at renovations then.
Well, dude, here's a big dirty secret. Nobody is good at renovations when they get started, you know? Which is why if you come in there with that like mindset, like even though I suck at this, if you go in with the mindset like no matter how long it takes or what I've got to do, I will make this thing right. You learn so fast. I mean, it's so quick, but you just have to do it. Sometimes you just got to dive in there. My first like 5 flips was like that. I mean, like giant remodels. I had bit off way more than I could chew. I learned so much getting in there and like learning from mistakes and learning about like, oh, this is how I do this, or I can be more efficient about this, or you know, you hire a guy and you kind of look over his shoulder a little bit and be like, oh, that's how you do that. Okay, I'm doing that next time, and then you suck when you try. You know, you waste a bunch of baseboards because you make the wrong cut or you do this. Then you throw the piece away and you put the right one on, you know, and you get in that mindset. All of a sudden, now it's like, this is simple.
Yeah, true, man. I think that's a huge key to like anyone listening to this right now. What you said right there is 100% key, and like the only way to be, and that is if it's wrong and it's not 100% right, take it out.
Yeah. And
get rid of it, redo that.
I don't know if this happens to you. That does not come natural to me. Like I am not the guy that's like naturally like that. Like I really had to like discipline my mind and be you cannot be the person who lets the freaking glue bottle stick underneath. You know, you can't be that guy.
That's it.
Because my thing is like get in and get out. And I'm also like I can freaking make 2 pennies squeak. You know, I'll rub them together real tight. You know, I'm a cheapie. And especially when I was broke, it was like I had to do that. And I had that like very like tight, you know, money mindset. So the idea of like I paid $20 for this piece of crown molding and I cut it wrong, I'll caulk it, you know, and then I'm like, no, you won't, damn it, you know, and I had to like just hit it, you know, make a $20 freaking loss. But that was like my tuition, you know. I learned from that, and now I know. Yeah, that's the way I think about it, dude. You know, because now, like, I learned don't do that. You know, and like, oh, okay, when I do this again next time, I'm doing it this way. Like, there are things all over my house where I go like, damn it, I wish I could do that now. You know, like it looks fine, but like, damn it, like, why my rental house looks better than that? Because I'm like, you know, I'm 5 years down the road and I've learned how to do this better. I can make that joint tighter. I can make this squeak less, or I can, you know, stuff like that.
Those are great moments when you know, it's
kind of great. It also drives me. You're taking a leak in your bathroom and you're like looking at all the things, going like, why I should have done this, you know? But you know, it is what it is. But I don't mean to cut you off, man. I'm sorry. So you're doing some remodels. You come down to Sarasota. And you're starting over again.
I was starting over. It took a little quick minute. You know, a quick minute. Like the first year was a little racky. You know, I had an accent when I said racky, but it was a little rocky. You know, but I started working for went back. I started working for AC companies. You know.
Now you can get a job easy though, right?
Oh,
like, you know, you're,
for sure.
You're the man. You know what you're doing.
Yeah, and at that point, I was like, you know, nothing less than $25 an hour, you know, and like, and you know, so that, you know, and that was a good base for that moment, you know, and I had, you know, I had the means to be able to go and start over, you know, because you know, I didn't move because I was in a bad position and ran for my problems, right? I just I needed that fresh start. I needed a change. I had to leave the nest, right?
Yes, absolutely. And dude, you know, especially like if you got friends who you were doing stuff you probably shouldn't have been doing with, it's real hard to stop when you're still hanging out with your friends, man. Like you know, sometimes you got to just like step back and be like,
cut it off.
That's like, I love you. I'm thankful for the time we spent, but this isn't this isn't the way. I got to keep going.
That's it, man. That's real. That is so real right there,
A lot of people find that, and that's hard.
I couldn't go to a gas station without somebody I knew showing up, man. And I would always I was very generous.
Yeah, sure.
So, and then, here I go to straighten up, and then everyone's coming to give it back, and I'm like, of course,
right.
So that's when I knew. I was like, man, I just, I need to go. And in Sarasota, I came back and forth as a kid. Growing up, my aunt lives here, and I always loved coming here. It was always the best time. Right. Summer break, 1 week away, we went to the water parks, But so
great place, man. I freaking won't leave it.
And so that's why I was like, hey, let's my wife was on board, and 16 months after my first daughter I had my second daughter.
Oh wow. Awesome.
So very, very close.
Heck yeah, that's great.
And Amran was a teacher previous. She was a teacher. That's what she went to college for, and became a stay-at-home mom at that time.
Okay.
When
the baby's little.
With our first child. And so we were all on board. We really didn't tell anybody. Exactly, because I didn't want anything holding me back.
Yeah, sure.
I was just going to take the risk. I'm going, and when they can't come get me because I'm 4 hours away, I'm going to call and let them know. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Dude, you know what, man? I honor you so much for doing this because, frankly, what this experience was, you're a blue-collar guy, you're freaking literally busting ass every day. Working in attics in Florida, this is not an easy job. It's hard physical work. You got a stay-at-home mom at home. You got 2 babies. You got a freaking house. You've got all. And then you just got raked over the coals, right? You get screwed. You hit a really bad time. You go down the wrong path. A lot of guys fall into this, man. When your job is hard, right? Sometimes you just want to go drink freaking 30 beers. It's I just need to let go. And you shouldn't. You cannot do that.
I'm there right now.
That is not a path to success, right? but you want to let loose, and especially 100%. When you're young and full of piss and vinegar, and but you gotta be so careful with that, man. It's you have to be. You just have to make sure that you're controlling that desire to do that, and everything in moderation. Maybe not everything, but most things in moderation, you know. And especially putting your priorities. And I drive this home. I don't know that it makes me popular. People probably don't like me talking about this so much, but I'm going to say it because I believe it to be true. Being successful is. You got to make money. You have to, you're moving into investments, you're doing all that stuff. But I really believe that a properly ordered man wants to work his ass off and then come home to his wife and his children. You can have all the money in the world and all the freaking cool cars and the big ass house and 30 girlfriends, and we all know that's fun.
Great.
We got it.
It's awesome, man.
I'd rather be broke with a happy wife and family than rich and broken spiritually and broken in the fullness of being a man. And a lot of young guys maybe listen to that, and I know this isn't what you hear on YouTube or on most podcasts that are talking about how do you become a man and become successful, but I am telling you, those guys are wrong. They're just wrong. And it's not that's right for some people.
Right.
No, that's not correct. This path is what is the correct way for a man to be. And if you're not there, it's not because you are special, it's because there is something in you that you need to turn in and start focusing on. I really believe that. And again, I may not be winning any brownie points with the youngins out there, but that's the way that that's what I believe to be true. And again, the fact that you hit this place, you made these mistakes, you had these bad things that were outside of your control happen to you, you've gone through this whole arc, and you chose your family. Dude, that speaks just, I love that, man. It's that's why I freaking I would feel such a connection with you, dude. Because that's what I think you got to do. So if you're out there right now and you're in this place, I know a lot of guys, as a Marine, I know a lot of guys who are in the Marine Corps. In the Marines, the same thing. It's a hard life, and you don't make a lot of money.
100%.
A lot of stress on your family with deployments and with constant work schedules and all of this stuff.
Can't even imagine.
And
Thank you, by the way.
Yeah. So that said, like, there's a lot of guys who like they get out of the Corps, or they get out of the Army or something, and then they don't know what to do, and then they start freaking drinking. And they, maybe they've got some PTSD. They saw some stuff they shouldn't have seen, whatever. Or they just feel like, I'm not a part of a unit anymore. I don't have purpose in my life, and then all of a sudden they start drinking. They're losing their way, and or you have this drive, you have this hunger to be successful, but you're not a school person, and all of society is telling you got to go to school, you got to go to college. Maybe you tried it, you dropped out, now you got a school loan, you don't have a degree, you buy the $2,500 in HVAC books, and you don't pass a test, and like life comes down on you, and you feel like everything sucks. You just gotta freaking lean into it, and you gotta just go for it. And I just honor you for making the decision. You made the decision, like, I'm putting my family first, putting my wife, my children. That's amazing, man. So like, learn from this guy. Do because you've been there. Like, I've had some low points in my life, but I never to the point where I like was in that kind of a situation. Like, I've had other things happen. And it is what it is. But like, I love hearing this story to see like. You're on your progression of like where you started, and then you went up, and then you came down, but like you're freaking relentless, man. Like every time I go to this guy's house, I swing by the house all the time. Hey, what's going on? What are you doing today? What's going on? And he's just freaking always busting. Stop freaking working, man. Just like sweating and working, and I love that, because you're not doing it. I know you're doing it for the dollars. You're doing it for the investment. You're doing this job well. Everything's coming together. It's more than you thought, but you're doing it for your little girls, you're doing it for your wife, man. Like, you're doing it for this legacy that you're creating. Woo! I love it.
100%, man. Yeah. And I it's not at this point, this stage in the game, man. I'm just, there's somewhat of like some kind of addiction to it,
Oh yeah. Hell yeah, man.
And it's like, because I'm not. I mean, of course, I want to go try all this new cool shit, like. I want to be that guy that for the youngins that you don't start out that way. Make sure you get this too, right? But like I would love to try new things, but it's like, man, I got to take what I know.
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge thing, like, because I've been there's a few times where I'm like, let me just do something new, let go of what and I'm glad I didn't ever like do that. I think, and hearing it from other people, stick with what you know, stick with what you know, and, me telling myself like, but I don't want to, I want to go do something. This is so cool. And but I always just stuck with what I know at the end of the day, and I'm glad I did. And, man, it's there's some cool stuff that just happens.
It fills the gaps. Well, so I want to start converting now. I'll ask you a handful more questions before we move on, but I do want to start converting over into what you're doing now, which is really like you're taking that third step, learn, earn, and churn. You're really focusing on the churn, right? Like, you're still doing, you're earning, you gotta, still got bills, you're not at financial freedom, but you're moving into that investment space where you're really starting to like create, like you're building on top of all the stuff that you've done for your adult life. But I want to ask you a couple last questions about the HVAC thing real quick before we dive into that too much. So you already answered the question. You can make $1,000 a day as an HVAC guy.
100%.
Okay.
100% and more.
And more. Okay. So give me the path in as condensed version as you can, like a step-by-step. If you're writing a book, chapter 1 is, this is the first thing you're going to do. Chapter 2 is then this, and then this. And then at the end of that book, you are let's say you're making $250,000 a year, which is $1,000 a day. Tell me how you get there real quick. 19-year-old kid, no experience.
First thing I would do is just get an interview. Get around HVAC dudes. See, back then there wasn't like all these groups online where you could go get in and talk
Reddit
to
posts,
like
Facebook pages.
Yeah, dude. So it was like, man, I just encourage you to get around these people, and get that interview, get hired, just and just like that, and just get hired.
Simple to do, right?
Just get
You
hired.
don't have to have the trade school.
Yeah.
You can if you do. That may make it easier.
Yeah. It's an intimidation to kind of
Right.
weave some of the people that might not be right for the trade out.
Yeah, yes,
is
sure.
that is.
Right.
I
yeah.
think,
Yeah, absolutely. You may be like, I don't know how to braise or whatever.
Yeah.
So like, okay, I don't want to get like too into details, and I want to move on to this other stuff real quick. But like, somebody's watching it, they're like, dude, I want to be an HVAC guy. I want to do what Corey did. I just want to do it like with a straight path. He goes in to get this, like, I mean, do you recommend they goes to a big company? Do they go to like the one with all the radio commercials, or like do you go into a small shop? Does it matter? And then like, what do you wear? Like, how do you go prepared? Like, what do you do?
Yeah, man. Like if you were going to interview,
you're gonna go try and get a good job, you know?
Yeah. If I mean, honestly, like just be ready for like uncomfortability. You know what I mean? Like be ready to be uncomfortable in like uncomfortable conditions, right?
Like physically uncomfortable?
Like it's too hot, or maybe it's too cold depending on where you are, in the country. But like dirty, itchy, like all
just be prepared for that mentally.
Yeah.
Well, what about for an interview though? Like
How
are we dressing? Like what are we doing? What are we coming
honestly, I never walked in and like dressy or like super fly.
Yeah, coming in with a tuxedo on. Yeah.
Man, I would show up in just regular clothes.
Okay.
Like how I'm regularly dressed.
Just
maybe
presentable.
some jeans. Yeah, maybe some jeans.
Yeah. I read something yesterday. It was really smart. Someone was saying you always dress one tick higher than how you would work. So if you're like, you might dress like this as an AC guy, shorts, shoes, and a t-shirt or whatever,
Yep. Maybe throw those jeans on.
Maybe put on a pair of pants. Yeah. Maybe you have something like with a button on it or with like a, polo shirt. You're not going in there for, like I was saying in my last interview, you're not getting a Wall Street job. You don't need a three-piece suit on.
In the bathroom, just handing out towels.
Look like a presentable person. Look like you didn't like literally roll out of bed with your like pajama shorts on and walk in there like scratching your balls. Like go in there like a professional and just present yourself. All right, so you go in. All right.
Yeah, dude. So that's what I would say, man. Just get an interview. Get in the company. Get on the books.
Any job you can get.
Yeah. And then start buying tools. Like you could have a handbag. If you have the means, get you a handbag of tools. You know what I mean? And
what are the essentials? Like what are the top 5 like you got to start with?
Top 5 right away. You definitely need some diagonals. You know what I mean? You need some diagonals.
Cutters.
You need screwdrivers, right? Like your typical flathead Phillips head. You need a drill. You
Impact
need a
drill, bro.
with a pack of little different, like Phillips heads.
Yep.
5/16, quarter inch. Those are the main 2 sizes. That's all. Every AC system out there is going to have either a 1/4 inch screw or a 5/16 screw. And then copper cutters. That's a good one, and a meter.
Okay.
Get a meter.
Can we go to Harbor Freight to do this stuff, like to start?
For sure.
So you just buy whatever the
trust
cheapest.
me, you're gonna lose that shit.
Okay.
You're gonna lose it.
So I don't have to go
20
like
times.
get Klein tools. I don't have to like go like be like the best of the freaking.
I
Like,
wouldn't yet. I mean,
The only thing I would add is like I would start with, because you're gonna start collecting battery powered tools. Like get a good brand that like you can buy the stuff at a store, right? So you don't have to trust, like you don't have to rely on Amazon or something. DeWalt, Milwaukee Rigid,
100%.
Makita, like those kind of tools that are like really heavy power. I don't know that I would go with like the cheaps,
like what's the one now that just turned? It changed names. It was like what was that? It was like green.
Is that Rigid? No, that's Ryobi.
Is that
Ryobi?
Is Ryobi? Did they?
They're
change?
green, but I don't know. Anyway, but
there was one that switched to Matabo or something.
Oh, that was Hitachi.
Hitachi. That's the one.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So anyway, the point is,
there's
like
different
get
types
it like,
of tools,
you don't have to spend a fortune on it, but you should spend a couple extra bucks to get like that package that you can start upgrading, because you can collect the batteries and the work on all the high end tools as you move along. So, okay, all right.
Don't be afraid to spend $500, dude.
Right.
Like
it's an investment. It's an investment in what you're doing. That's gonna pay you back over and over.
100%. Yeah. So that's why I'm like, get used to them first. You don't have to buy the most expensive at first.
Right.
Because trust me, you're gonna ruin that shit. You're gonna
lose
it.
You're gonna wear it out. If you're working, you're gonna wear them tools out too, man.
And just be like ready to buy tools.
Right.
Like you don't want anyone thinking like, oh man, this guy needs to buy some tools because you're always asking someone else for their stuff. You know? That's like definitely rule number one.
Yeah,
don't do that.
that's just bad etiquette generally. But like honestly, because my tools are my life. You know, I was telling you earlier, like I'm never will let anybody finish with my drywall knife. Like that ain't happening. You have to bring your own knife, bud. Like I'm sorry. But like I freaking live on my impact drill. Like if that thing goes out on my job, I'm screwed. You know what I mean? Like, well, actually, I'm not screwed because I can't do my job. But like you need. I don't want to lend those out to people. People don't take care of it the way I want to take care of it. They don't take care of somebody else's stuff like they do their own. So get your own tools. That's huge. All right, so you get an interview, you take whatever job you can get, highest one you can get.
That's it. I mean,
but anything, right? Get
honestly,
your foot in the door.
just get something that shows that you have experience. Because, dude, honestly, you could work for this company, right? And now that's on your record. So if for some reason, you don't have to stay somewhere where you don't like. Yeah. You could respectably leave. Right. And go somewhere else. Yeah. Now you have experience. Yeah. Right, so it's easier to get a job.
Yeah, absolutely.
So just get the first one however you can. Right. Talk to people.
And then start learning.
And then like I said, purchasing tools. And then listen to the guy that's teaching you.
Even if he's an asshole.
Even if he's rude, man, just give him what he doesn't get, and that's probably kindness. Maybe that's why he's so mean. Who knows? But I would just cherish whoever is going to take the time to teach you. Yeah. Anything,
dude.
Anything,
yes.
And even if you think you know a better way, like or if something's not right, or just ask questions for sure. Ask that dude questions too. And I liked how you said, like, maybe not like where you're asking every 5 seconds, but don't be afraid to ask the same question again too. I find myself in the past, man, I think I've already asked that, but you have to ask it again, dude. Don't ever guess. Ask the question.
Sometimes what I have found, so I learned from somebody, again, like my mentor in drywall. And drywall is like one of those things where like it's an art. Like you really have to it's a feel that you have to have more so than like, okay, you put this to this. It doesn't really work that way. It's like, well, you put this to this, but you do it in this way, and then you got to make it right. Serious. And so my teacher is freaking amazing. Like he's so good. He's been doing it his entire life, but he doesn't first off, we communicate differently. Like he's not a very verbal person. You may have noticed, I talk a lot, and I really verbally break stuff down. Yeah. And so, but he's visual. He's like, look at this. And so when he was teaching me, first off, I'm left-handed and he's right-handed. So he's showing me everything backwards. And I have to translate it over here. That was one problem. Wow. Whatever. But he'd be like, yeah, you do this. And I'd be like, can you tell me? What, can you explain what it was, And he finally started to understand, oh, okay, I have to communicate. But I had to tell him, I don't understand what you're saying.
True, because they're pros at it.
That's the thing, is that they don't know that I don't know. Yeah. They think finishing, skimming out this joint, this is the easiest thing in the world. I literally do this in my sleep. Well, when you're starting, it's like, that's not easy. That's the hardest thing I've ever tried to do, As anybody who's ever tried to finish drywall patch doesn't know what you're doing.
I remember the first time I put a mud knife in this one gentleman's hand, dude. He he started using the mud as if he was doing watercolors, paint brushing.
But anyway, dude, so definitely ask questions and rely on these people and understand and have patience with them too. Yeah. They don't their job isn't to sit there and teach you. Their job is to get a job done. You're slowing them down, especially in the beginning when you're stupid and you don't know how to do what you're doing. So be patient with them. But rely on them. Okay, so we're learning now. You're focused in. You're learning.
Yeah,
and then what? How are we taking that next step?
Dude, just conquer that uncomfortability there, because it's gonna be, like I said, it's gonna be uncomfortable with working with somebody that is pro and you're a beginner, asking those right questions and all that. It's gonna feel weird, man. It's gonna be just expect that, but just work through that. Stick with it, and just just learn as much as possible and how to use, how to use those tools. I mean, honestly, and then like always, ask if there's anything else you can do. Is there anything I can help with?
Right.
Like,
because that's where you're going to learn those little like tidbits, man. Like,
partnerships. I mean, people, are willing to help you if you're willing to actually help and be coachable.
And be useful. Just make yourself freaking useful like that.
Yeah, and just be involved in any way that you can, like with that company. If there's something that, staff may need, if you need to come in a little earlier, like, kind of be that Susan, you know what I mean?
Be reliable.
And like, be that teacher's pet for a sec, dude. I mean, people actually like that, what everybody else thinks.
Honestly, I see people on like, I spend some time flipping through Reddit, and I go on this anti-work. You familiar with that?
What's it called?
It's called anti-work. It's a Reddit group.
Interesting.
And no offense, actually that's not true. I mean this fully offensively. Most of the time, not always, right? Sometimes people have legitimate complaints, but most of the time, those anti-work people are just bitching about like, this guy wants me to work. Like, yeah, bitch, that's what you're there to do. Like, you are there to work, And like, I never do anything that's not written down in my job description.
Wow.
Well, that's called you are never going to ever dig yourself out of the freaking hole that you are already in, man. Like, that is a path to being a loser. You suck if that's the way that you are,
what you mean,
those people, I want to just like freaking smack the snot out of somebody like that. I think like, dude, like if that is the way that you approach a job is a way for you to create value, and then you get paid for the value you create. If you're saying like, no, I only do this much value, you're only going to get paid this much money. I don't want to hear you whining about, oh, I need to raise my pay. Like, no, you need to do more work. Like, you get paid money. Are there circumstances where your boss doesn't recognize you and they don't value you?
Hell yeah.
Of course,
Let
man.
it go.
And
Celebrate
you know what you
it
do?
yourself.
You freaking go to the other job, and you learn what you got to learn from that guy, and you move on to another place. Like
it'll get recognized. It'll be,
but it will get recognized. Yeah,
dude.
Anybody worth their salt, like. I'm that guy. Like, I will pay somebody ridiculous amounts of money if I like them, if I see that they're motivated, because then I want to keep them. I'm like, bro, like,
so hard
like I want to train you, and it's tough. It's hard to find those guys. So if you can get out of this like stupid anti-work sort of Reddit board theory, and you get yourself into like just driving hard, value, work, man. It's a game changer, and you got to. And again, it's not to say it's going to work every time, but it does work on average overall. So sorry, man, I keep jumping in. You inspire me to say like these things because it gets me motivated,
That's
man.
what it's all about, man.
All right, so you learn, you freaking bust ass, you make yourself valuable.
Yeah.
How do you take the next step? How do you get out of being, maybe you get up to $20 an hour, or you hit 95%.
I was going to say ask for a raise.
Okay.
I was going to say ask for a raise. Any chance, man. And I mean,
once you're providing the value, they'll give it to you too.
Like, don't wait for them to recognize you.
Yeah. You don't have to wait every year for $1 raises.
Yeah, go get recognized. Go get noticed, and the time is now.
Yeah.
Always have that in your mind, like the time is now.
Right.
You know what I mean? And just do it,
On the flip side though too, I've had a lot of situations where a guy thinks he's worth more than he is.
Oh yeah.
And I go, no, dude, actually you're not. Like I appreciate what you're saying, and I'm not saying you're not a hard worker, but you're still slow. You still got a lot to go, and like you're slowing me down. I'm not making money as a result of you being here. You actually cost me money.
Right.
Because you're not providing enough value to pay for yourself yet. It's you deserve a raise when you are providing more value than you're getting paid.
Yeah, I
That's
agree
when you
with
get a
that.
raise.
I agree that.
So don't jump the gun. So like definitely ask for a raise, but first make sure you're worth the raise
for that.
Yeah.
And with that, just be honest with yourself, man. And if you get let down, just say that's okay. Like keep going. Don't jeopardize or ruin that situation. By being
you don't burn the
weird
bridge sometimes.
Yeah.
And you may think I'm worth it, and the guy may be like, let's reassess in 3 months or whatever. And maybe he's a scumbag and he's not going to do that. He may be one of those guys taking advantage of you. Recognize that and move on to the next gig if that's what you need to do.
Well, I will tell you, dude, that like these companies don't call other company. Like to, like references and stuff,
Right.
like, you know, reference. I mean, maybe if you're the guy
Well,
coming in there wondering if they're gonna call, you're gonna show that shit, and they're gonna call. So
Yeah,
don't
right,
show
don't.
that shit. Don't think of that. Like, so go in there, like, you know, if you're not happy, like, and you've tried and you tried and you tried and you know that, you know what I mean.
You're providing that value, yeah.
Go somewhere else.
That's okay.
And
Do it
tell
respectfully.
them
Give the 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Leave.
right.
You know, thank you for the opportunity. Thanks for this time.
and you might
It's time
actually
for
get a
me to
raise
move on.
right there.
They may give you. I've
Who
had that
knows?
situation. Yeah.
You know,
for sure, man.
and then if not, then like, and then you go somewhere else respectively, and then you know, if you were making 10, you tell them that you were making 15, and
Yeah. See if that'll work.
you know,
I mean, no,
and just be
yeah.
yourself.
But you
bro.
got to be worth it. You got to be worth that 15.
In that is very true. I am speaking as if like I, you know,
Right. This is assuming
like,
you're doing all this stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Because
All
like
right.
you said, there are those gentlemen, and there are ladies in the HVAC industry as well.
Yeah.
Over the last like 5 years, dude. Yeah, ladies have been coming into the HVAC trade, dude.
Okay, cool.
Quite a
Good
bit.
for, dude. You know, man, you don't think about it often because there's
no,
still
yeah.
like almost all the trades are like totally male dominated, but
Yeah.
girls can do most of this stuff. I
I've
mean,
seen
you know,
some
there's like,
good-looking AC girls.
Yeah?
Yeah.
oh, there you go. Well,
I
maybe you can
really
meet your
have.
wife on the job. You can kill 3 birds with
That's
one
it.
stone.
And then you guys can always be together.
Yeah, talk about a business. Talk about a business opportunity,
Yeah.
though, man.
Oh, yeah,
you know,
yeah,
that
yeah.
could be an interesting thing too. But so, all right, I don't want to get. Let's drive home. So let's
Yeah,
get me to
dude.
that. Let me get to that 250. What are we doing after the hourly? You've mastered it. Now you're getting that hunger.
For sure.
What do we do now?
Yeah, or you know, and like working with the company, man. I mean, you could make some decent money.
Right.
These sales guys, dude. I mean, I played that position before, man, and it is not easy. And I will say, if you want to make more money with a company, be ready to involve your entire life almost with that.
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for me, it wasn't like I didn't feel good about that. You know what I mean? I liked my life. I wanted this is my life. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
like,
sure.
And like, man, I can't, you know, and I disappointed some people like at times because I just chose my life over like that.
This is a big thing that again, like you're gonna have to think about like for yourself what it is because you and I have this totally in common. I loved being a Marine. I hated being in the military. Do you know what I mean? Like as far as like
Totally.
there was this like
Totally understand that.
I had no control. It didn't matter. I could be the best damn Marine on the planet, and I was like, well, sorry, time and grade, dude. Like you gotta wait for this amount of time before you're able to move this next level. I'm like, no. You know, when I'm like ready to fulfill this need, I want to be able to reach that level. And so for me, like in a school environment, that was even worse. It was like, it didn't matter if it was your greatest teacher in the world. You're making this much if you've been here for this amount of time and you have this degree, that's what you're doing, you know? And so to me, I've always had an entrepreneurial drive. I produce more, I get paid more. I buy more, I make more. You know, it's like I do better work, I get paid better. And that's just the way it goes. And so to me, I've always had this independent drive. It sounds like that's what you're saying.
Yes.
You may not be that guy, man. There are people who thrive in a company environment. But like you say,
Yeah, because companies need that guy too.
they do. Yeah, absolutely.
It's not a bad.
So
you
it's
know.
not bad. So
Yeah.
don't get the impression that like, oh, you must own your own company.
Right.
I personally think that for most blue collar guys, that's the best way to go, generally speaking. But again, I'm speaking from a person who wants to be in control of everything that I'm doing. I want my freedom.
And it takes a certain point to get there.
Yeah, right.
That-
You gotta
that
do all that
headspace.
grunt work, man. Like there's a whole long path before you get there, before you're able to even get licensed and all that kind of thing.
You got to screw up a few times.
Yeah,
man,
exactly.
even,
And like that said, like you can be wildly successful, like working your way up, especially a big company like your place in Jacksonville. Like you can work all the way up to the upper management position, or
Yeah,
like be an
guys are
equity
making-
partner. You can make big money doing that.
for
There's
sure.
nothing wrong with that. So like, don't be afraid to be like, you know what, I'm going to ride it out with this company, and I'm going to ride it all the way to the end. You can do that. You can get great benefits, which you don't get when you're self-employed. Like nobody pays for my insurance, nobody pays for my Social Security.
Right.
I pay all of that out of my own pocket, and that sucks. And it's more expensive, and it's crappier care. You know, it's like all of that. So like there are trade-offs. So it's okay if you want to be a company man, but if you don't, that's okay. You get licensed, you start your own company, and you do what you got to do. And maybe you have a small company, maybe you work up to have a big company. You want to be thinking through these ways.
Yeah, there's only so much you can actually handle on your own.
Right. You have to scale it up at a certain point.
Yeah, that's another thing too. I think is very important. Like after knowing your worth, like just know that you are human.
Right.
And only do what don't bite off more than you can chew, man.
Sure.
And it's very easy to be the yes guy in that situation. Right. And when people are hot and you promised and you don't show up, dude, you're going to feel like shit. And if you don't,
and you should.
You should. yeah, exactly.
Because you suck if you do that. If you tell somebody, especially like in an air conditioning business, like I'm freaking sweating to death, and you go, I'll be there today, this afternoon when I'm done with my install, and you just ghost them. You suck. You suck. Like, don't be that freaking guy, man.
Oh, man.
God, I hate those people. And it's everybody. I mean, honestly, it's like there are more of those than there are people who actually show up. It's insane.
It's weird,
like,
man.
I want to pay you money. Like, come take the money, or at least give me the damn courtesy to say, like, hey, I can't make it. I hit traffic, or job took longer.
Those folks would much rather you call 3 times and tell them each time it's going to be another 30 minutes. It's going to be another 30 minutes. It's going to be another. Rather than you not showing up, not calling, and then they call, they're going to be more upset than they are after those 30 minutes.
You're losing trust. I mean, it's just a disaster. So just do what you're going to say, and if you can't. You get, there's a traffic jam, or like, I ran into this thing, my job's taking me longer, I feel so bad. Just call. I know it's not comfortable. Nobody likes making those calls. It sucks.
It sucks to stop and do that real quick.
It sucks to stop.
Quick.
But like nobody wants to like make a call and be like, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but but if you do that, then you're going to build, it's that integrity. It's that personal integrity. You don't want people to stand you up. Don't do that to somebody else.
And it actually refreshes your mind when you do that. And so with what you're doing and why you're not there yet, it frees your mind up and it makes you feel better. And you could really
You're not like stressing out. Because I start stressing out like, I told this person I'm going to be there in an hour. Like,
and then times that by 10
if that
happens, right?
Then I'm going to call them and just tell them what's going on and communicate. And so that's key. So
but yeah, so like that. So with I mean, there's only so far you can go, right? With a company, then it's like, weighing the option of, do I start my own company,
right?
Or do I stay here, or do I advance what that looks like with being higher in the company, and and then they're doing getting your own license is a whole different ball game, man, and like. At one point, I did. I wanted to have the biggest AC company there was, and I want to show these guys, like, and but then like after that first business partnership, like I really got a taste of what that is. You know what I mean? Like the actual back end of an actual AC. So I did get something out of that. You know what I mean? I did get something out of that. And then I did get into another small partnership. That was a good one. I messed up because of my downhill on those 8 months coming out before I moved. But I did get to a point where I was like, man, like I don't want an AC company. I don't want to do that, because it's a lot.
That's a whole separate. It is a great business. I know some of the most successful blue collar guys I know, and we'll have them on the show, are other AC guys. Small companies. They're not even big companies.
That's the way I would do it. If I would,
If you were to go that route, maybe you will, man. I mean, you never know. So, the point that I'm trying to make is that you can be successful as a guy. Starting your own company, you can be like literally you and a helper and a truck, one guy, one crew, and like you could do that right now. You get your license, you go pass that test, or you get that half point back or whatever. You get your license, you start your company, you hire a helper, you can go out and start making. Can you make your $1,000 a day doing that?
Oh, 100%. So like the service charge, right? The service charge, if the service charge is like $80, right? Or $99, let's just make it simple, which there are some that are $69, $79, $89, everyone's competitive, but just to make it simple, at $100, $99, kind of right in the middle, if you had 10 service calls in a day, there's $1,000 right there. Right.
Is that realistic? Can you do 10 a day?
Me personally, I've done 14 calls and an air handler in one day. And that's
an air handler?
And an air handler.
Okay, so that's a lot. All right, so you can do that. You can go that way. If you were an install, if on an install you're gonna make $1,000, If you're doing like an
like
a switch out,
like owning the company.
yeah,
like
yeah.
owning the.
Let's
company?
say
Oh,
this is the
100%.
situation. You own the company. You got your helper, and you line up an install. You're gonna make $1,000.
Oh, 100%.
And your boys, and your helper's
minimum.
gonna make good money too.
The helper will probably be. I mean, you know, if I'm really teaching him and he's green, he'll at least make $250, $300.
I mean, damn, that's pretty good money, dude. That's pretty good.
If he was really experienced, where like he's doing that air handler and he's doing a majority,
right?
And I'm not like letting him kill himself. That's why I'm there helping him, right? You know, I have no problem $400 or $500
okay.
a day.
So you're making good money. Your helper can be making good money, and you can do that just with a 2-man gig. Keep it small.
For sure.
Keep it small. Keep it all, right?
100%.
Then of course, you could be like a medium level where you raise up a few, 3 or 4 of those guys. They have their own helpers. Now you've got 4 trucks out at a time. Maybe you're doing the back end, or you can be a huge company where you got 15 trucks out on the road. So there's so many different,
it's
like,
a ball game,
there's just
man.
a ton, and it really depends on like what path you want to take, and like, you know.
Exactly. That's so true.
As a drywall guy, I don't want to run crews. Like, I just don't want to. I don't even want to have helpers. I like to go out and just do my job, and like it's just me, and I get paid 100% of what I make that day, you know, and that's the way that I roll. But it also gives me freedom. But I don't have this scalable business, you know. Like if I stop or if I get hurt, I'm out of luck, man. You know, so if I have crews, now I can I can rely on them. So, you know, there's pros and cons to all of this. You got to be aware of it. So, all right, let's
man.
push away, because we're kind of coming up to the end. We've been going for a couple hours already. Believe
Have
it or
we
not,
really?
we have.
Holy shit!
Yeah,
Nice,
which is
man.
great. Hopefully, it's been value packed. I want to talk real quick a little bit about your sort of plans for your real estate. So we've gone through a lot about HVAC. I feel like you've given us a lot of great like actionable stuff. Really good picture of what's out there. And now you're at the point where you're leveraging your skill set into like legacy, right? Like really building financial freedom. So
yeah, man.
What are you doing?
You know, and so like where I've become with the HVAC, where it's at for me now, where I'm comfortable with, what I love about it, right? Along with real estate is that, you know, that guy that started with me at Snyder, right?
The guy in the warehouse.
In the warehouse, he stuck with that company for 10 years.
Okay.
So he did that company thing, man. Worked his way up and made better money. And then they screwed him at one point, and then they kept screwing him, and then he finally, guess whose books he borrowed? He borrowed my books.
You're kidding me. Oh, man.
So I loan him the books, and he goes and takes the tests. Passed the test. This was like 4 years ago. He passed the test, you know, and like instantly like starts to build his thing.
So he starts a business.
And he starts
gets licensed and builds a business.
Yeah, he's still working with Snyder and then like just waiting for him to like screw him again. And they did. And he said, "See ya," you know what I mean, and left, and like just had no problem leaving because he was like getting busier in his company, you know, and like. And dude, he just did the right thing. He just hit it off. He's always been an honest guy. He understands what he has to do. He does what he says. Doesn't mind buying tools and material and doing the right thing.
Awesome.
And dude, like, just has flourished in the last 3 years.
That's so he built a business from nothing.
From nothing. From
now
nothing, dude. And he, you know, and from the guy that he was in Snyder, right? He built connections with bigger people in there that have left Snyder doing shit.
Dude, this is huge for building a business. Yeah, absolutely.
And so he's got good connections because he's likable.
Right.
And he's a good guy.
He's not screwing people maybe the way that he experienced.
Yep. And so 2 and 2 together, he's
we'll have to have him on the
really
show,
well.
man. We'll have to have him down here. I'll go up to Jacksonville and talk to him. That'd be great, man.
I mean, Eric's an awesome
guy.
guy.
I don't want to get like too wild. I mean, is he making pretty good money?
Yeah, he is, dude. I mean, some of the money like that. I mean, his whole life's changed. His whole life's changed.
Okay,
he's
so
happy.
He's doing good. Yeah,
he's growing. He's continuously like,
and it's going in the
growing
upward.
Yeah.
We've heard your story now, and so like Eric took a different path.
Yeah.
Sweeping the floor in the warehouse.
Dude, yeah.
Learning the trade, service calls, becomes an installer. Runs it up for 10 years, makes great relationships, gets his license, starts a business, making great money.
Yeah.
That's the blue collar. Now all he has to do is start churning it out. He
That's
learned,
it.
he earned.
That's
Now he's
it,
got to
man.
start churning.
And so what he's done with me, like, from knowing him for so many years and just, spend a lot of time with him. I mean, we're brothers at this point,
Sure.
Spent a lot of time together, done some really fun things with his family, my family, and but now, I mean, basically the trust is there, and he would tell you like, oh, Corey's taught me everything I know. He's the one that helped me on my first few side jobs, and
right.
And I did, and but I mean, now we have the capability, and he's like, yeah, dude, no problem, because the license is a state license.
Mm-hmm.
So anywhere over the state of Florida, that license is operational.
Right.
So me being in Sarasota, all it is a quick.
Because he's based out of Jacksonville. It's like 4 hours away.
Right.
So he doesn't have operations down here.
He has no operations here.
He does.
and now he does. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
And so we call that like a satellite.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Satellite.
So you're running a branch of his business
pretty
in
much
Sarasota.
And it's what's been really takes because I already knew I didn't want an AC company. I'm not trying to start a company so I'm fine with
Sure.
I'm just a W-2 employee under his books.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Nothing wrong with
and
it.
It's I can be this AC owner
Right.
in the exact way that I want to be.
Right.
And it's
Right.
not that I'm using his
Yes,
but
yes.
but he enjoys it because I mean he's
making commissions.
For doing nothing.
Yeah, hell yeah.
I mean, he got the license, right?
Yeah, well, that's it. That's it.
Yeah, and then doing how we have to update the insurance, the liability insurance every now and then.
Right.
So he does stuff like that, and then I've been fairly consistent. And then thanks to you as well. I know you. I talked
listen, man. I mean, I'm in the world all the time. I'm burning through jobs because I've got like AC. It's like I do 2 or 3, and as you know, I work 2 to 3 days a week.
Yeah.
And so I'm at 2 or 3 different houses a week often, and a lot of times I'll get people to say, "Hey, you know an AC guy?"
Yeah.
Yes, I do. So I've been trying to throw you some business,
you
brother,
because much appreciated. Too.
Because I trust you. That's the thing. I'm like, I know Corey will take care of my customer, because that's one thing. Sometimes someone will say, hey, do you know somebody who will be whatever? I'm just using a window installer.
Like the roofers.
The roofers, yeah, right. I do know a roofer. My dad's a roofing contractor, but they'll say, do you know somebody who can hang some doors? And I'll say, yeah, but I won't give you their number.
Yeah.
And they'll say, why not? And I'll say, because I wouldn't do that to you if you were my worst enemy. I don't trust these people.
Yeah.
I don't want their name. I know that you're not going to hold me responsible for what they do, but I'm not going to put you down the wrong path.
Yeah, 100%.
I don't feel like that with you, man. I feel so confident to give, I know you're going to give them a good price, and you're going to do great work, and you're going to take care of that customer that way that I want to take care of that customer,
Yeah. Dude.
Yeah, and I know you feel the same way about somebody, you run into somebody who needs drywall work, and so.
Oh, yeah.
That's great. So, all right, so basically you're making yourself as busy as you want or need to be.
Kind of.
So you're doing some here and there?
We're about to ramp it up, man. I've got some things that are changing. My youngest will be in school next year. Which there was no rush for that. So I had to tell myself before, enjoy these moments. Don't worry about career so much. You got plenty of time. Fine. Right. Don't rush it.
Well, you came here for the focus of centering. You did a lot of that. So kind of getting the ground back under you.
Dude, yeah, man. And that took a little while. There was so backing up, when I did move here to Sarasota, with my 2 daughters, right, and getting back in the swing, working for those few AC companies, and then I worked for a general contractor, right, and I was really trying to just figure out the area. Even though I'd come here as a kid, I didn't know shit about geography of the area.
Right,
you know what I mean? And so after I spent probably 3 years, kind of doing that, because the first year was a little rocky. Second, the couple years after the first year, going, getting used to the area. I know I'm going to buy a house. Actually, no, I'm sorry. So it'd be a year and 7 months. And there was a couple months and some vacation rentals. But, 7 months, the first year was a rental house, which I paid for up front. So I didn't have to worry about expense for rent. That was actually 3 times higher in Jacksonville, and sold a lot of toys and just downsized my life. Went back to what is the gentleman saying? Goodfellas. Well, at the very end, and he's picking up the paper, drinking the coffee in the suburban neighborhood, and he's like, "I'm just like every other schmuck out there."
Right. Yeah.
So
You're going out to get some spaghetti and meatballs, and they give you egg noodles and ketchup.
I'm just like every other schmuck out there. But he was happy.
But you're recentering. You're recentering.
Right. Yep. And I was happy. I was, I'm starting to really feel better and turning things around and being a family man again 100%, and just found my way. Finally bought a house because we knew the area, we knew what was good, what was bad, where we wanted to be, what our boundaries were, where we weren't going to be, and finally bought a house. We knew that thing was going to we knew the housing market was going to flourish, and that was like my second go after nearly losing last time, almost 7 years ago. And I just waited for that market, and I was also kind of waiting for my youngest to get into school so I could really focus on career. And that was tough to kind of wait that out. And I had been talking about my ventures, and people were tired of hearing the story. Like, this dude's just talking shit. He's never gonna do nothing, dude. You know what I mean? And I think that's what some of these people have thought, that we're probably not the best people for me to be around, anyways. She, I just something. I joined a brotherhood, found myself spiritually a little bit more. Found a lot of love within myself.
When you say the brotherhood, this is a legitimate, organized program, right?
Like
this is
cult. No. It may seem a little culty, but the Wake Up Wealthy boys, man. I gotta give it to Brody Kern, man. He definitely
shout out Brody.
Brody. His team, man, and the coaches at Wake Up Wealthy, dude, just rewired me. Rewired me.
So help me understand this. So you get back here, you recenter, and now you're on this path where you are just relentlessly focusing on getting things you've waited out the kids, and you've waited out, and you've got everything sort of situated. You've got this satellite situation set up where you can control your own life in terms of the HVAC business. You can earn great money without it consuming your whole life like you would if you had the big company.
100%.
What are you doing moving forward? Let's hear about that real quick. We got to wrap this thing up.
Dude. Thanks for having me too.
Yeah, absolutely, bro.
Yeah, man. So my thing now is, when they do start school, or when she does start school, all three of my kids will be in school. My wife's been back to work now for a year and a half.
Okay.
This is her first full school year. She did half a school year last year because the teacher quit or whatever or something. So I'll have that freedom to kind of, take on a little bit more. Which I do plan to do, but I will end up hiring at least. If by the end of this year, I'd love to have, and this being 2023, I'd love to have 2 guys, right? I'd love to have 2 technicians
working for the satellite company.
Working for the satellite, okay. Which would be on Jack Frost's, Eric's books, as W-2 employees.
Sure.
And the reason we do that, we just, we save so much, money and paperwork and all this crap that you don't have to do.
Right.
It's just easier that way.
Sure.
And then me and him verbally say, well, this is how much, and we,
You guys work that out. Okay, so that's your business side, and then you've got real estate stuff you're doing. So you're into a remodel right now. You're working the berm method over at this property where we met.
We look forward to, man. I would love to have 50 properties by the time I'm 50.
Okay.
Which is totally doable.
You got that, 16 years you can do that, no problem. Yeah. So is this the first place you've personally bought? Do you have any other rentals right now, or what do you got other than your own houses?
We took a break, man. When we left Jacksonville, when I was telling you I sold all of my toys and I had nasty trucks, I had a nice boat, I spent a lot of time on that boat. And we had a couple rental properties, and we were doing the thing. We were doing that thing, man. And I had flipped 3 houses, and we had 2 rentals. And that way I was getting that off the ground. And that was through knowing these investors. They were the ones giving me the shots. And, yeah, dude. And like, but yeah,
you took a step back.
I had to take a step back, man. I sold those properties. Like I said, came to Sarasota, got used to everything, and now, yes, this is the first one back in our portfolio. Okay. And my goodness, is it definitely...
It's a hell of a lesson, man.
Like it's a hell of a project, dude.
Well, dude, we're gonna do some more content. I want to get over there and like show you guys. So we'll make some shorts and stuff. So we'll get an opportunity to see because he's not digging around. It is a hell of a project, and I've done a lot of them in this area. It is a big one. You know, it's a big one. Like nothing that you should be scared of, but it's definitely a lot to learn. You're gonna be super successful. So we're gonna definitely have to get back together, man, because I want to talk more about like, you know, how that project comes together, what you learned, because there's so much more that we can talk about in regards to all the real estate stuff and getting into the churn. But I so appreciate you, you know, giving me like all your information about your whole story and like how to become successful as an HVAC guy. I hope that you guys out there were able to learn and you know, maybe get some encouragement and think, hey, this is not only is this doable, this is a great path, this is a great way for you to be a successful blue collar guy. So I appreciate you giving us that, brother.
Yeah, man, definitely. No band-aids, duct tape, because you're gonna get cut, you're gonna bleed. Tape it up. No band-aids.
Get back on the friggin' horse. All right, man. Well, dude, I appreciate you, man. Love to you, bud. And,
yeah, man.
Thanks for being here, man.
Thank you for having me, brother. I appreciate that.
Semper Fix. All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed that conversation and got a lot out of it. Now, we covered a lot of ground. We touched on some huge stuff, some great points, and I hope you're able to take some of what you heard here today and apply it to your life and to your blue-collar journey. Now, if you feel like you even got one tasty little morsel of value in anything that you heard today, I'm going to ask you to do me a favor. Click like, click subscribe on Spotify or YouTube or iTunes or wherever you're listening to this podcast, and leave us a 5-star review because I need your help to get this thing on its feet. And those reviews, those subscriptions are critical to keeping this podcast alive. And I'm telling you guys, those few little moments from you, the couple little clicks of your mouse, will contribute to keeping this podcast on the air in a huge way. You can also feel free to check us out on social media, which you can find pretty much anywhere at Blue Collar Blueprint, or by visiting us on the web at www.bluecollarblueprint.com. And it's over there where you can ask questions in the mailbag, or you can read the blog, or even suggest guests for the show. So let's get together, let's connect, let's build a community, and let's get to work. So with all that, we'll leave you there for today. I'll see you next time. Semper Fix.